Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome back to the June 2016 Common Core Algebra 2 exam. In this video, I'm going to be going over the key for questions, the 4-point questions. I guess that's part 3. The 4-point questions, numbers 33 through 36, all right? I think that's part 3. And my name is Mr. Chavla. You could also call me Mr. C. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Number 33. And again, the previous videos contain answers to previous questions. And this is the June 2016 exam, as you could see. So, number 33. Hello, I'm trying to get down to 33. Here we are. Solve the system of equations below algebraically. That means some kind of work has to be shown. Now, here's what I'm going to do. There were a few different ways to do this. A lot, actually. I'm going to take, so we have the equation of a circle, and then we have a linear equation, which I'll highlight in green. Now, if I simply divide all the terms by 2, I'll end up with x plus y, that was too thick, equals 5. Now, I'm going to subtract y on both sides. You could have subtract x as well, and you get x equals 5 minus y, or negative y plus 5. Now, I'm going to take this form of the equation. I'm going to highlight that. That's the same equation. I'm going to highlight this new form of the linear equation in yellow. I am so sorry. That was a previous video I was uploading, and they wanted to say hello to let me know it's done. Woo! Okay, anyway, x equals negative y plus 5. Where I see x, I'm going to substitute negative y plus 5 in the equation of a circle. So in this equation, I don't need to use that much space. Here's what I'll do. What is going on? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this equation. I'm going to move me up here, move this over here, and we're all good to go. So in this equation where I have the x, I'm going to replace x with negative y plus 5. So instead of x minus 3, I'm going to write negative y plus 5 minus 3. That is so messy, it wasn't even funny. So negative y plus 5, that's my x, that was what I replaced for x, right? Remember, x is equal to negative y plus 5. That's why I highlighted in yellow. I just bring down the minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared. I'm running out of space, so I'm going to erase the arrow. I need more space. So guys, I'm going to write that again. I'm going to write that again, and then I'll save the highlighting for last. So x is replaced with negative y plus 5, right? Minus 3 squared plus y plus 2 squared equals 16. And again, this negative y plus 5 was just what we replaced for x. So I could use the arrow after all. X is equal to negative y plus 5. Now if I combine like terms, 5 minus 3 is positive 2. So this becomes negative y plus 2, or 2 minus y squared, plus y plus 2 squared equals 16. Now if you know the shortcut for squaring binomials, that'll make your life very easy. You square the first term, so negative y, when you square it becomes positive y squared. When you square, the next thing you do is you multiply the two terms, and we get negative 2y. And then you double the product, and it becomes negative 4y. Then you square the last term, which is 2 squared is 4. That's the first trinomial. Okay, now I'm going to square the other binomial, y plus 2. When I square y, I get y squared. Then I multiply y by 2 and I get 2y. Double that and you get positive 4y. Separate that. And then you square the 2 to get 4, and it's all equal to 16. And I'm going to add the parentheses just to make sure we know which one's which. But the parentheses were not really necessary. We could drop the parentheses and group like terms together. So we get y squared minus 4y plus 4 plus y squared plus 4y plus 4 equals 16. Now, I'm gonna take a blue highlighter. We have a y squared and a positive y squared. Those are gonna combine to become 2y squared. Then I have a negative 4y and a positive 4y. Those are just gonna cancel. Then I have a, let's see, I think I'll have to use a different color now because I've been using all the different colors. Let me see if I could just use a like kind of green color. Positive 4 plus 4, that becomes positive 8. Just combining like terms, right? Equals 16. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 8 on both sides. That'll give me 2y squared equals 8. I could have solved this by factoring, but I'm just going to use the inverse operations method. I'm going to divide 2 on both sides, and I get y squared equals 4. Then I take the square root on both sides, remembering to include the plus and minus, and I get y equals plus minus 2. Y equals positive 2 and negative 2. Now I'm going to have to split this into two different answers, okay? So I'm going to have to split into two different answers to solve for x. So I'm going to use this equation right here, x equals negative y plus 5. I don't want to circle that because I don't want it to look like it's part of the answer. But where x equals negative y plus 5, I'm going to substitute the two y values to solve for x. On your exam, you could go below and you'll have more space, but I want you to be able to see everything at once. Why don't I go below? It'll be easier. So x equals negative y plus 5. Or better yet, let's just use the original equation 2x plus 2y equals 10 or x plus y equals 5. Let's use x plus y equals 5. That'll make it easier. Well, they're both easy, but I thought maybe, forget it. Let's just keep it like this. So one of them, I'm going to substitute y equals positive 2. When y equals positive 2, this just becomes negative 2 plus 5, x equals 3. So one of the solutions is that when x equals 3, y is 2. So the point of intersection with the linear equation and the graph will be 3, 2. Remembering to put the x value first before the y value. Now if I use y equals negative 2 and x equals negative y plus 5, I have to be a little careful. If y is negative 2, if y is negative 2, I'll put that over here so that I could just write the solution there. Then x is equal to the opposite, negative of negative 2 plus 5. The opposite of negative 2 actually becomes positive 2. So this becomes 2 plus 5, and this gives us x equals 7 when y equals negative 2. So the other solution is x first, y second. 7 comma negative 2. And these are our two solutions, our two ordered pairs, points of intersection. Because when you solve a system of equations, you need both the x and the y solution. And I would recommend substituting it to the original equations to make sure they work, or using your calculator at the very least. That's what there was to it, guys. This was a quadratic linear system with a twist, where you're algebraically solving for the points of intersection of a circle and a line. Okay, so this is what I was afraid of, that you won't be able to see the whole thing. So pause the video, scroll back and forth, do what you got to do. I'm moving on, okay? Number 34, Alexa earns $33,000 in her first year teaching and earns a 4% increase in each successive year. I'll just underline for now because I don't feel like switching back and forth. So it's $33,000 in her first year teaching and a 4% increase per year. After that, write a geometric series formula S of n for her total earnings over n years. Now I'm going to scroll down, guys, so we could see the formula for geometric series, which is exponential growth. Geometric series has a common, or decay, in this case growth. there's a common ratio. You usually use a geometric sequence formula when you're trying to calculate a single term. When you want to find the sum of any number of terms, you use a series formula so that you don't have to find all the individual terms. This is one of the ways to use the series formula. S of n, S sub n is equal to a1, the first term, minus a1 times r to the n, all over 1 minus r, where r is not equal to 1, because then it wouldn't really be growth or decay. It would just be a constant function. So that wouldn't be exponential or increase at all. So I'll write the formula up here, even though you don't have to write the original one. The sum of the first n terms, that's a series, is equal to the first term minus the first term times the common ratio. I like to put the parentheses to the n power, where here the n will be the number of years, okay? All over 1 minus the common ratio. So what you got to be careful of is r, you're thinking, okay, 4% increase, then the rate is 0.04. Yeah, r is our common ratio. So what do you multiply by when you increase by 4%? You multiply by 1 plus 0.04. So r is equal to 1.04. All right, and your first term is the amount you make in the first year. An would be how much you make in year n. Sn is the sum of the first of what you make in all first n years. All right, so none of this had to be written down. I was just doing it for instructional purposes. Writing the formula is very simple. All we're being asked to do is write a geometric series formula, S of n, for her total earnings over the first n years teaching. So A1, we're going to substitute 33,000. Minus A1, 33,000, times the common ratio, which is 1.04, to the n, which is years, all divided by 1 minus the common ratio, which is 1.04. That's all there was to it. That's all we really had to do. Okay, so boom, that's the first one done. Next part is saying to use the formula to find her total earnings for the first 15 years of teaching to the nearest cent. So what we're going to do is we want to find when n equals 15, S15, it's the same formula, but we're going to substitute 15 for n. Over 1 minus 1.04, and then they said to round to the nearest cent. That's 2 decimal places. So I'm just going to put it straight in the calculator. This is me uploading the video for earlier questions in this exam, but that's not what we got to use right now. We need this one. So all I want is 33,000, no comma, they don't like those. 1.04 to the 15th. I'm going to put parentheses so that they know I'm grouping all of this in the fraction. Don't mind me. All over 1 minus 1.04. And as you see, the total amount is $660,778.39, rounded to the nearest cent. 660,778.39. And it's approximate. That's all there was to it, guys. That was question number, what question number was this? 34. Why is that box not moving? That's weird. Something had to have gone wrong. That's interesting. Okay, so that was 34. Can I get rid of this box? I'll be right back, guys. Let me take myself out here. And let me see if I could get rid of that box, because I don't know why that box is staying here. Because that box could be a problem. Okay, we're going to go on to 35. I'm going to delete this and re-upload the exam because this is not going to allow me to do it. Okay, so let me, I'm going to actually delete this and I'm going to re-upload the exam. It shouldn't take too long, within a minute, all right? So I'm going to insert PDF. Oh, that box is still there. I'm going to close this, guys, and reopen. Well, I'll just do a new page. No, a new notebook. Don't care about the color. Okay, I'm just going to cross this out, open another one. There we go. And then I want to clear this out. I'm going to insert the file. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so it shouldn't be long. I'll be here in a minute. I mean, it'll be back in less than a minute. I did not expect that to happen. Okay, so we're doing 33 through 36. We just finished question 34, so now we're going to do 35. Two more questions. So 35, let's get started. 55 students, bring me back. 55 students attending, I'll use a different color. 55 students attending the prom were randomly selected to participate in a survey. Cool. About the music choice at the prom, another type of statistical study, by the way. Remember we talked about controlled experiment in one of the earlier questions, maybe in a previous video. 60% responded that a DJ would be preferred over a band. So 60% wanted the DJ, 40% wanted the band. Members of the prom committee thought that the vote would have 50% for DJ and 50% for the band. A simulation was run 200 times, each of sample size 55, just like in the sample that they got. So they had 200 different times where they sampled 55 students, based on the premise that 60% of the students would prefer DJ, the same thing that they got in the actual sample. So they said, okay, if 60% of the students would prefer DJ, let's do a simulation with that assumption and see what happens. And they'd see approximate normal results of the simulation, so it's a normal distribution again, are shown below. So we have our mean is 0.602, which is 60.2%, which is about 60%. And here's our standard deviation, 0.066. Using the results of the simulation, determine a plausible interval containing the middle 95% of the data. So guys, 95% interval is always the mean, which is 0.602, plus and minus 2 standard deviations, which in this case is 0.066. And then they said to round to the nearest hundredth. What this gives us is what do we expect if we had a sample, if we have a proportion of 60%, what 95% of the time, what do we expect the proportion of people who prefer the DJ to be? So let's go ahead and enter those values in. So one of them was 0.602 minus 2 times 0.066, which is 0.47. No need to round that to the nearest hundredth because that's already rounded. So 0.47 to, and then the other one we're going to do plus 0.602 plus 2 times 0.066 is 0.734, which rounds to 0.73. So that's our interval. So we're 95% confident that if we got that between 47 and 73% of the people could end up voting for a DJ. Members of the prom committee are concerned that a vote of all students, that's a census, meaning when you survey every single person in the population. So members of the prom committee are concerned that a vote of all students attending the prom may produce a 50% split, meaning 50% for the DJ, 50% for the band. Because remember they were saying that they were thinking that the vote would end up with a 50-50 split. They thought it'd be equally popular. And now they're going to ask what statistical evidence supports this concern. Right here, guys. The 95% confidence interval, we're 95% confident that the actual proportion of all students who prefer the DJ will be between 47 and 73%. 50% refers to 0.5 or 0.50. It's in that interval. It's in the plausible 95% interval. So 0.50 is in the interval. I'll just call it the 95% confidence interval because that's what it's usually called. So it would not be that surprising, okay? If it was a result that was above 73%, let's say 75% or higher, we wouldn't be too concerned. Or below 47%, we wouldn't be concerned. But 50% is between 47 and 73%. So 0.50 is in the 95% confidence interval. So it's possible to get a 50%, 50%, 50-50 split vote. So it's within the 95% range of expected results. So and if that happens, the reason that'll be a problem because then they won't know what to do. If we have a 50-50 split, how are we going to decide whether to use the band or the DJ? Okay? That was it. That box, okay. I don't know what's going on, guys. Like every time I use a box or circle, something's going wrong and it keeps like not moving. And this whole thing won't move. I don't know what happened, guys. So here I go. I'm going to just take the questions and move them to, there's one more question. I'm going to put it in the smartboard now. Okay, I'm going to pull it over in the smartboard because this is getting old. I don't want to keep, I don't want to have to keep deleting and re-uploading the file. So I'm going to go to 36 here. I'm just going to capture it to a smartboard video, smartboard notebook, and then we'll just do that, and that'll be the end of this video. Okay. All right, hopefully the smartboard doesn't take too long to open. There we go. That's all we need, and all I need is 36. Okay, I'm gonna have a little bit extra in here. Okay, so just disregard that extra part right there. Okay, I need the smartboard to open. I'm waiting. I'm sorry about that, guys. Let me take the charger off. I'm at 99%. Don't need the charger anymore. Yeah. Okay, 36. Yeah, I got a little extra in there. So which function? I'm going to minimize me. And we don't need this. So which function has a greater average rate of change on the interval -2 to 4? That means x is between -2 and 4, including both values. Justify your answer. So I'm going to use two different highlighting colors. I'm going to use yellow for f of x. So -2 to 4, the rate of change formula is just the output change in output divided by the change in input. And then g of x will use, I'll use, I guess, this orange color. All right, so let's find the rate of change for g of x first. So the rate of change of any function is this equal to, so if we want from, it's going to be the second, this is the x1, this is x2. So it's x2 minus x1, 4 minus -2, which if you were to work that out, is just 4 plus 2, which is 6. And on top, we have to do g of 4, the corresponding output for 4. So g of x2 minus g of x1, g of -2. So let's just find out what g of 4 is, find out what g of -2 is. So 4 times 4 cubed, just substituting to the function, minus 5 times 4 squared plus 3. And we're going to find out what that is. And then we're going to find out what g of negative 2 is. We don't have to show all the steps. Minus 5 times negative 2 squared plus 3. And we'll just use the calculator to get the values. I could even just use table. That probably would be easier. So, but, hey. So, 4 times 4 cubed minus 5 times 4 squared plus 3 is 179. So, and let's put the other one in as well, negative 2. Let's get them both at the same time. Negative 49. So we get, this is, the first one is 170. G of 4 is 179. And g of negative 2 is negative 49. And while we're at it, let's also find out what g of 4 minus g of negative 2 is, so we don't have to do any work on the other side. So it becomes 179 minus negative 49. Now what that really means is 179 plus 49. So let's find out what that is. 179 plus 49 is 228. So this becomes 228. So this just becomes 228 over 6. So this is the rate of change for g. Okay, that was the harder one. So this is the rate of change for g of x. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing for f of x, but we won't have to do as much. And I'm not going to simplify the fraction because both of them will be over 6, so whichever one has the higher numerator has the greater rate of change, average rate of change. So for f of x, we want to do f of 4 is 80, so f of 4 minus f of negative 2, that's the change in output, over change in input, 4 minus negative 2. We know the denominator becomes 6, because that's 4 plus 2. F of 4 is 80 minus 1.25. And all I'm going to do is find out what that is. What's 80 minus 1.25? It's 78.75. Over 6. So that's the rate of change for f of x. So which one is greater? Clearly, the one for g of x. So the answer is g of x, since 228 over 6 is clearly greater than 78.75 over 6. That's one way to get a complete and correct response. There were other ways to do it as well, but this is fine for now. All right, so guys, that was it for 36. Let me come say goodbye. All right, so thanks again for coming by. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll respond as soon as I can. Best of luck, and if you enjoyed the video, please hit like, subscribe. I'd appreciate that very much. Any feedback would be much appreciated. All right, take care. Bye for now, and study.